Guys, I am back with one of the most insane systems that is available for use. Okay, I promise you, if you learn how to do this, you will be able to stay a sick, not gonna say that, year round. Grab your notebooks and get ready to fucking learn. If you've watched last video, you know how to get shredded. So, we'll start at your peak shreds. Somewhere between 7 to 10% body fat optimally. Now, this is an advanced guide. This isn't for a normal person, right? If you don't have muscle mass, get muscle mass first and then do this. But this is for all the people who are advanced lifters and they want to get lean and grow at the same time. Like all of the fitness influencers, Dorian Sirachi, Clark Kent, fucking Joseph Shin, Adam Yu, bro. Everybody runs this in a little bit of gear, but this is how we can do it natty, all right? We're not enhanced, and if you are enhanced, fuck it. The goal is to get shredded, so we'll start at our peak shreds. Peak shreds, you always hate how you feel, but it gets completely negated because of how much you love the way you look. Like, yeah, you're tired all day, you have no sex drive, you're not attracted to anything, but you're a fucking sick cunt. Or you're around 15%, then you start your cut, get to 7, 8, 10, then you rebound. It can work for everyone, but I recommend starting here. Basis of how it works is we're going to get shredded. We're going to enjoy it for probably about 2 weeks. Okay. Because maintaining a sub 10% for more than 2 weeks, you're in diminishing returns. Like in a cut, you're in diminishing returns pretty much at all times. So we're going to get shredded, enjoy it, and then we're going to rebound. And then once we're done the rebound, we're going to progressive overload because that is the main driver of hypertrophy, mechanical tension, and progressive overload, okay? Until we can't anymore in a reasonable surplus, and then we're going to repeat. We're going to shred again, enjoy, rebound, progressive, repeat. So I'm going to show you the macros, what I recommend, what I run. So when I'm gaining, I want to hit the minimum requirement. I always want minimum of protein and minimum of fats, okay? Now, carbs, a high carb diet in specific, carbs have a protein sparing effect, which means when you consume high amounts of carbs, it allows protein to be used optimally for its processes, which is protein synthesis. Right? So more carbs allow protein to do its job versus in a deficit, we want to keep a little bit higher protein because we don't have as much carbs. Now we need more protein to ensure that our muscle retention is increased inside of our deficit as much as we can. Okay? But we always want to maximize our carb intake because carbs are law. So yeah, 1-to-1 protein, keep your fats. Obviously, you guys saw last video, we want 0.35 grams per pound of body weight or 0.4, just the minimum. Good thing to note, when you're in a deficit and you hit 10%, your test is the lowest it'll ever be. So that's why you don't have a sex drive. But you're trying to fuck in a deficit, bro. That shit is the hardest thing I've ever tried. But anyways, let's get to it. So let's say we're starting at our peak cut, all right? We're going to want to do periods of 8 to 12 week gain phases, okay? We're going to hit a maximum of a 500 surplus because anything higher than this, we're just literally storing fat that we don't need. The goal with this is to store the least amount of fat and build the most amount of muscle. So this is what I found. So 8 to 12 week gain phase. And then we're going to do a 6 to 10 week cut because we want our, let me put 8. We want our cuts to be as minimal as possible because when you're in a deficit, you can't build muscle. It's hard to, like you can, but it's so hard to. And then we're going to do a maximum of a 700 calorie deficit, and that would only be for like a week or two when you're really trying to push. Peak shreds. The reason is we're going to add as much mass and strength while we stay lean, hence the 500 surplus, right? Maybe not even a 500 surplus. You don't put on a lot of fat, which means you don't have to cut for as long. That's why we do this. We gain, and then we cut. And then we gain, look, gain, cut, gain, cut, gain. You see the trend? Yes, me too. It reduces time in deficit. We retain more muscle. That's the goal. We build muscle and retain it while we stay lean. and then maximizing growth and power output. You want to get stronger, bro. And you get to keep your abs at all times. Here's how pretty much it works. Week 1 to 2, our starting point is at 10% body fat, for example, at a negative 500 deficit, okay? So week 1 and 2, it's going to be us slowly rebounding. So let's say week 1, we'll go to a negative 300 for the whole week. And then week 2 will be maintenance. Why is this important? Well, when we're in a deficit and there's less energy, we get smaller, right? When you get smaller, you weigh lighter, your metabolism slows down because you're not the same weight. You're not 30 pounds heavier than you were. You're not 20 pounds, 10 pounds heavier than you were. So your metabolism is slower. So this is literally just us adapting our metabolism to a higher intake, just so then we don't crash our insulin. Week 1 of our gain phase, it's going to be a negative 300 deficit. Week 2, we'll be at maintenance, okay? Now, when we're at maintenance, okay, you are going to feel insane. If you can keep progressive overload going at maintenance, do it as long as you can. I say keep it 1 to 2 weeks because most people don't have the same motor unit recruitment as me. Their outputs are a little bit weaker. And then once I hit my plateau at maintenance, maybe this week, maybe next week, then I just add another 100 calories or 200 calories. With those extra calories, you're going to get stronger. If you add 200 calories every day for a week, well, that's an extra 1,400 calories a week, which should put you into a stronger position. Then, once you run that for 2 weeks, right, progressive overload for another 2 weeks, it won't be achievable anymore because that extra 200, you've already used all of that strength that you can. Then we go to another increase. So then we'll be at plus 400. And by then, we'll be at week 8 of our gain. Run that for another 2. Then we get to week 10. And week 10 is week 8 to 10 is when you decide, how do I look in the mirror? Am I puffy? Have I gained a lot of fat? You probably shouldn't have, but you'll be a bit closer to that 15% mark. If you love the strength, push for week 12, right? So increase again to plus 600 a day. That's the maximum I would go. Plus 5, plus 600, and then spam progressive overload until you can't anymore. Another 2 weeks. And then when we want to rebound, once we hit this at week 12, right? 10, 12, the same thing that we did to rebound from peak cut to gain, we rebound from gain to cut. So this 600 first week of our cut, it would only become a plus 300 surplus, right? You don't want to crash your calories because then everything, you never want to nuke calories. I can't put it into words how bad nuking calories is, but just listen. We're not going to nuke calories. We'll go to a plus 300. And then the week after that, we'll be at mate. And then the week after that, we'll be at minus 200. Then minus 400. Then maybe minus 600, right? And it's just repeating it over and over. This is where we get the 8 weeks, right? Because this will be a 2-week pay. The rebound's 2 weeks. That's still a cut. Then we do negative 200 for a week. That's week 3. Then week 4, we do 400. And I'll actually say run that for 3 weeks, okay? Because I just want to see how that. And then we'll go minus 600 for the last 2. For last 2 weeks of cut. And by there, you should be at 10% body fat again. All right. So we have a lower cutting phase than we do a gaining phase, meaning we gain while we're lean, right? Gain being lean, okay? Cuts are shorter, meaning muscle is retained and we stay lean at the same time. Now, Keel, why shouldn't we just nuke a anabolic bulk? It's a good idea, 100%, right? If you're on gear, yeah, then it's a great idea. So you literally use whatever cutting agent you want, Retta, fucking Ivar, fucking anything. Nuking an animal bulk while natty, not a good idea, because you're gonna put on so much extra fat. And guess what? That means your deficit will be longer. Guess what that means? More muscle lost. When you're in an aggressive deficit, or even in a deficit, you are going to lose muscle. In a deficit, progressive overload and your strength output arguably needs to be higher than when you're in a gain phase, because you want to keep the muscle. How do we build muscle? How do we retain muscle? I said it earlier. Do you remember? It's 2 words: progressive overload or mechanical tension, or both. So in a cut, for muscle retention, since we know we lose muscle in a cut, we want to be pushing as hard as we can. Okay, guys, does this make sense? Let me give you a quick another rundown. We get shredded. Okay, we enjoy it for the 2 weeks that we do. We rebound. And once we're back at maintenance, we focus on progressive overload, because this will be a lot more achievable than when you're shredded. Then we repeat. We progressive overload until we can't anymore, or it becomes too much food to intake. Then we repeat. We cut back down, then we enjoy it, and then we rebound. Now, Keel, what if I want to stay lean for the whole summer, 10% or 12%? Well, why don't you thug out a maintenance phase all summer, right? So you shred, you enjoy it peak summer, right? Peak summer, and then you only rebound back up to mate. And you stay at maintenance, because you can still build muscle at maintenance or retain it at maintenance, and you can just run that all summer. So I mean, if you want to stay at like 10 to 12% all summer at maintenance, shred down super low, rebound to maintenance, and then just cruise there until you want to either cut back down again the 2 pounds that you put on your stomach, or bulk gain. I don't say bulk anymore. This guide, screenshot it. If you have any questions, DM me. Yeah, fuck. I guess I hope this makes sense, but yeah, boys. I'll see y'all in the next one. The next one will be an insulin one. And once you learn insulin, you are going to be the most insane lifter in the world.